Welcome to First Responder Financial Freedom Podcast. We talk to first responders all over the nation who are investing and working on businesses outside their first responder jobs. Our goal is to motivate and educate each other and help provide a better financial understanding for a better future. Now here are your hosts, Mike Webb, Tyler Thrush, and Aaron Foster.
All right, First Responder Financial Freedom, we're back. We've been begging people to hop on with us, and Alex decided since he completed his first deal, he was going to join us, give us some motivation for the other guys to kind of hop on and chat us up. So Alex Carnathan's a firefighter outside of, I don't know what that you consider this, the Baltimore, D.C. area. There's a county out there. He works with in the same department Mike Webb does, who's on shift today, so he's not joining us. So Alex, thanks for hopping on. We're going to go over from where you grew up at, how you grew up, to how you hustled in college. I just happen to know Alex's backstory because we became friends since we started the first responder group. So Alex, thanks for hopping on with us, bud.
Oh, thank you for having me. Appreciate your guys' podcast, everything. You know, I don't know if I'd be as far as I would be without this group. So
I love hearing that. Me and Tyler talk about this once in a while. It's like, this is like the cat's meow. Like, this is what kind of gets us going in the morning is seeing people better themselves like this.
For sure. And it's funny, when we were typing, I'm like looking up Alex's post, because it's always fun for me when we're interviewing somebody to kind of see the progression too. And I just remember when you posted that you made that $61,000, I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. And now,
so let's start where you started from, because I know your backstory. Like, tell me what it was like where you grew up, who you grew up with, and kind of like your background, like your beginning story.
All right. So my mom and dad, they were both in the Navy. Mom was a welder, and dad was a diesel mechanic at first. And then he went the spec ops route, SWIC. And then my mom and dad got married. I'm actually the reason they got married, because I happened. But yeah, after that, I have 3 sisters. We moved around a lot growing up, like every 2 years.
Military.
Call Mississippi home. My dad retired in like 2008, so I didn't really realize like everything that was going on with the economy and everything. So we did live in a trailer for a while, but I was always doing like side jobs in high school, and if my dad was gone on a trip or something, I'd always get voluntold by him. So it'd be like his buddies, and I would go help them do things. So it'd be like either like a roof or, I don't know, some demo work or just regular side work. So
your mom. So once you were born, your mom retired from the military. Your dad went SF, and then he's obviously going to be deployed fairly often because of that. And then you kind of like, you were doing side jobs growing up to help with the family. So yeah, one of my favorite stories that you tell me is the cutting of the trees and the logs. So can you just tell me that story again, where you fell asleep?
Oh God, that one. So in high school, like every time a hurricane comes, there's like cleanup crews, and my buddy that like I used to lay sod with, he told me about hurricane cleanup, and we traveled to Galveston, and I don't know how long we were on the road for, but I remember like I didn't get any sleep, and me and my buddy were like, I was running the chainsaw, he was in the Bobcat with AC, of course, and I'm outside with the chainsaw, and I had chaps on, and I was so tired that when I started cutting a tree, I fell asleep, and I woke up to the chaps like binding on this chainsaw. So chaps do save you. So that's one thing.
It's good to know. That's definitely good to know. Whoa, that was exciting.
So, that was for Alex, dude. He's the winner circle.
Come on down.
Yeah,
so Alex,
we could play some Lil Wayne or something in the background if you want.
There you go.
So now, we got through the high school years. You moved out. What did you kind of get into to keep yourself going before you joined the fire department?
So actually, I joined the military outside of high school, but I always had little side jobs. Like I laid sod in high school, and that was the very first job that I ever had. And the very first time I laid sod, I worked for like 2.5, 3 hours, and I made, I think it was like $250. And I was like confused because like my dad's like works for a whole week and he'd make like a certain amount. And then I figured out, talked to the farmer, and he's like, yeah, like if you want to lay sod on your own, do small jobs, I'll sell you sod for like 25 a roll. So 2 rolls equal 1 pallet. So 25 a roll. And most of the time, they go for about 60 a roll. So I was like making, what is that, $35 a roll. So if I do a 10 roll job, and it takes me like 2-3 hours, I'll make $350. So I did that throughout high school. And then I always played sports. And I think firefighters came to our high school, and I just started like really going like hard on a YouTube, like what like it takes to be a fireman. And I Googled, I was like hard firefighter school, and like NYFD came up, and I was like, I kind of like being south, so I'm not going to go up north. And then of course the military one was on there. So I went and talked to a recruiter, and then got sucked into the military for 3 years, and then went to college after that. So
What was your MOS in the military?
firefighter.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where were you stationed at?
Eglin.
Where's
That's
that?
in like right outside Destin.
In
Florida.
Florida. That's right. Yep.
Yep.
I do. So, all right. So you did the firefighting thing in the military. You did your 3 years in the military. You got out, and then what? Like what? Actually, let's talk about the college stuff too. I want to skip over that.
Yeah. So, like, I was just kind of like just working so much in the military, and you're kind of voluntold to do everything. And at 3 years, like it was at that point where I was like, I kind of want to do something different. Like, my mom, she did graduate college, but is around the same time I did, and my dad never went to college, so I was like just trying to do something better with my life. So I thought college would be the right route, and I had my GI Bill. So yeah, I wanted to go to college. I played D2 lacrosse. Um, I actually I went to high school in California and Mississippi. So I played lacrosse in California, and somebody who went to the high school in California was a coach at the North Carolina school that I went to. So I used my GI Bill to go there. And yeah, I lived in the dorms. I did little side hustles here and there to help pay rent when I moved off campus. I think we talked about this, like at the end of every semester, students, they'd throw stuff away in dumpsters, and I would go with my pickup truck, and I'd pick up little like the mini fridges and everything, and I would go in my front lawn and say yard sale and just make money to pay my rent for over the summer, so I wouldn't have to really like go super hard and work more than I had to.
So you went dumpster diving, got these mini fridges, put it in your front yard for sale. That paid for your entire rent for the summer.
Yeah.
So you can relax more. You don't have to work a 40-hour work week.
Still did though.
But I'm sure you did. But your roommate said he's not going to do it with you because he didn't want to go dumpster diving.
Yeah, well, he really wanted to do like an internship, a paid internship, and I was like, hey man, like I'm about to go to the campus, and I'm pretty sure they have like a ton of mini fridges, and he didn't want to do it, and I wound up like, I don't know how many I collected, but I think I sold them for like $40 a piece, and there was like a line like coming, and yeah, paid for my rent over the summer. We lived in a duplex, so it was like $150 a person for a month, so really wasn't super expensive. So it didn't take very much mini fridges, but I remember like just giving them the cash and being like, hey, give the landlord this, and it was 2 days, and it was like all the rent. But
I got an acquaintance up in New York where he goes dumpster diving for a living, and he just has things sorted out. He's got a warehouse. It's obviously a lot cheaper up there in the very, very cold areas of like Buffalo. But what he does is he goes out and he knows exactly how much it is per pound for scrap. So on his way home every day, he'll stop at the dumpsters and pick up the scrap metal from places that he knows are scrapping stuff, or he'll go by like thrift stores or stores that are closing and pick up the stuff they're just throwing in the trash and then reselling it on eBay, Facebook Marketplace, and whatever else. And I know you did some of the similar stuff in terms of flipping. So do you want to transition to that, or you want to keep on going with the mini fridges?
I mean, I could keep going on the mini fridges, but I'll move on. Yeah. So actually, after college, so I got my degree, and I did like a 1 week internship at Sam's Club, and it didn't take very long for me to know that I didn't want to do that. And I applied for a fire department back in Mississippi,
That's right.
about like 10, 15 minutes away from my parents' house. And I did that from 2015 to 2018. And then I kept laying sod. So I lived with my parents, laid sod again. I'm still in touch with the farmer, just called him back and was like, hey, man, like, I'm going to be coming back. Would you mind if I still laid sod? And then did that. And I was applying to a bunch of different departments. And my girlfriend in college, she lived in the town in Maryland that I'm at. And I finally got the call from there. And then I came up here and got on with the department here, which is the same one Wed's at. But
you got hurt in the fire department in Mississippi, right?
yeah, I like right before I was coming to this department, I was loading. So another thing, the department down there is a one-man engine companies. So like you would pull the line, put it in the pump, and you'd go into fires by yourself. You'd call for mutual aid. Sometimes they would come, sometimes they wouldn't come. And so you pretty much did everything yourself. But one time it was after, I think it was like a little garage fire, or not a garage fire, a dumpster fire. And I was just loading the hose back up, and I slipped and I fell, and I like rolled my ankle super bad. And my ankle was super bruised. And I was like, oh man, like I'm going to have to take workman's comp to get off of work. And I was taken off of work. My boss called me. He's like, hey man, we have nobody to cover your shift. So like, I don't know if we could keep you on or anything like that. And then Frederick called me. Well, there you go. I work at Frederick, but yeah, so they called me, and
so your option was like move to a different department or stay where you are.
Yeah, exactly. And I was supposed to go see an orthopedic surgeon, and I was like, dude, I know something's messed up, but I'm going to keep riding this out because I want to get out of here. And I never went. So like sometimes like after a long day of work, my ankle will be pretty sore, but
I think me and Tyler know all about that as we get older.
Yeah. You ever wake up with like sciatic back pain?
Yeah, for years.
Dude, it's killing me now. Like I have to wake up in the middle of the night and do stretches sometimes. I don't even I'll wake up and my girlfriend's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm stretching, my back hurts so bad.
Doing the cat's pose, mind your business.
Yeah, I'm like,
getting old sucks.
I'm sleepwalking. Go to bed.
That's last night. So yesterday I was painting a house. I was helping the neighbor install some smoke detectors and CO detectors. We got me trying to get Amy and me back outside and being active again. And by the time I was done painting the house and doing all this other stuff around the house, and I loaded up like 200 or 300 pounds worth of bamboo shoots, I was exhausted. So I was like, I took ibuprofen just so I can pick my son up, because I was like, oh my God, like my whole body, I felt like all hunched over and my back was all stiff. My hips were stiff. So I took some ibuprofen and loosened up before I could hang out with my son for a little while.
Yeah, that bamboo looked brutal in your backyard, those pics.
Such a crazy plant, dude. It's the gnarliest plant. It's so thick.
So I've learned all about bamboo, and like there's rhizomes that are running and there's rhizomes that are clumping, and I've got the running kind, so I've got to dig a trench, and I got the plastic today so I can put a barrier in. So me and a buddy of mine at work were talking about this. He got a quote to get rid of his bamboo for $40,000. And basically what the guy was going to do is come in with a backhoe and just dig all of the dirt and all of the bamboo up, put it in a dumpster and take it somewhere. And that's his whole, was his whole plan. I'm like, there's money to be made in bamboo. Maybe I should buy some more mini excavators and hire some crews.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the crappier the job, sometimes the more it'll pay. So
I'll be like the guy like when you're cutting when you're in the chainsaw. I'll be the guy in the Bobcat with the AC. Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna be the guy outside digging the holes.
Hey, both of us were falling asleep, so.
All right, all right, so now we got through. You played lacrosse. You did the military. You joined the fire department. Got hurt in your first one. Joined the second fire department where you're at now. And then you started off with, this is one of the things you posted in the group. You started off with nothing. Like you started off with $0. So how did you go from $0? You bought your first house up in Northern Maryland. You started renovating that, and then you had $0. So how are you started funding some of these projects that you have going on?
So yeah, the house that we bought, me and my girlfriend, we went USDA, which is the 0% down, and we split. I don't know if it was closing, but wound up only being like $1,300 to get in the house that we're in. But it was 100% a fixer upper, and didn't have any money to like fix it up. And I just kind of started flipping on eBay. I used stuff that I had already, and the stuff that I sold were like old video games. I sold some Pokemon cards, and the Pokemon cards actually sold for like $1,300. And I was like, what the heck did I just sell? Like, I thought they were like almost like worthless. And so I kept going to like garage sales and picking up like Pokemon cards and other things. Like the Redskins changed their name, so people were selling the Redskins stuff. I found old vintage helmets at Goodwill, and I would just be making like it didn't wind up being very much, but it accumulated because I wasn't spending that money. I was like, I'm going to use this to invest in real estate. And when I got my house, I was just reading books about real estate. Gary Vee kind of got me on to like the garage sale and eBay thing. And I just kind of wanted to get smarter on investing, and I never really did that, but I always made enough money to where I could take care of like what I needed to take care of. But
So
when
let's go over Gary Vee stuff real quick because I don't want to browse over him. That's one guy we never really talk about in the group. Like, so Tyler or Alex, I don't care who. Can y'all tell me a little bit about Gary Vee and like why you like him?
Go ahead, Alex. I mean, I know who Gary Vee is, but I'm not like a huge, I guess you could say, disciple of him. Not that I have anything against him. I just know that he's big about, what is it? Jab, 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 right hook. Kind of what you were saying. Well, and that's the thing too. Like, and go ahead and talk about Gary Vee, but what you said about the whole garage sale thing, it strikes a chord with me for sure.
Yeah, so he had, I think he still has it, but it's like his garage sales. And he would just go out and he'd be like, I have $100 right now, and I'm going to show you how to make $1,000. And I found that interesting, but he would go and he might find like an action figure or something, and he'll buy like a case of action figures for like $10, and one action figure in there would be worth 50. And he's like, look, like, yeah, you don't have to hit an amazing home run, but if you make $40 off of $10, that's a good investment. And I did that for a while I was working on my house, and I was doing renovations on my house, and I paid off my truck and everything with garage stuff. And I did work construction on the side, but all those little wins, like those were huge. It'd be like if somebody came up and gave you $20 after you gave them $10, like I think everybody would do that all day. And if you're not going to make, like, if you're so worried about like the big price of going into real estate, I was like, if I keep getting these small wins, and if I can't get like a sub 2 deal or a seller finance deal, eventually it might be a year, it might be 2 years, but I'd have enough money to invest in real estate. And that's essentially what happened. I just kept working side jobs and flipping garage stuff that I kept finding. So
Tyler, why does that resonate with you?
Well, it's funny. So like when we had the last market downturn, nobody was really doing loans, and I'm like, dude, I got to make some money. So right before that show Storage Wars came out, it was funny. I started going to storage unit auctions and started buying storage units. And what you said is like, so I saw one, I bought one for $20. My first one I ever bought was a $20 storage auction, and it was it had a microfiber couch in it. And I'm like, I know that's more than $20. I don't know how much more, but I know it's worth more than $20. Bought it, made a profit, and then I bought the next one, and it had some Pelican cases in it, which are obviously worth a lot of money. And I'm like, okay. And then it had these figurines that I don't know what it's called. There's a store around here. It's called Game Shop, I think, or GameWorks. And it's like, I don't know the whole culture behind it, but I know people spend a lot of money on these things. Took it to the shop, figured out which ones made money. And I wasn't killing it. Like I was on a big number on each little individual thing, but I started stacking money that way. And you start to learn what is worth money, what is not worth money, things that you can see. And then you use your own knowledge too. Like for me, I had been in the mortgage industry, real estate industry forever. We opened one up and nobody knew what this machine was. I knew it was an auto dialer. And I'm like, dude, an auto dialer can be super valuable. It's the machine that when you're getting those calls for like telemarketing that are just ripping through stuff, I'm like, dude, that could be worth like $10,000. So we bought it. It ended up not being serviceable, but the company who manufactured it wanted it back in their possession. So they paid us a few $100 just to ship it back to them. But the point is none of those numbers individually were like super sexy. But what it did is it started stacking small wins, started giving me money at a time where the mortgage industry was just melting down, but I was still making money. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm learning a new skill. I'm doing this. And the point is, you don't have to start with the big house. Like you ended up flipping a house, but you didn't start with a ton of money. You figured out, I'm just going to stack these small wins until I make money. I can pay for these things. And then you hit I would say a pretty big win. But I think a lot of people get caught up in like, let's say I don't have $10,000. Okay, that's fine. Can you make $50 today? Yes. Okay, then make $50 tomorrow too. And then $50 the day after that. Some days you may make 100, some day you make 200, some days you may make $10. But when you're stacking those things up, you're gaining knowledge, you're gaining skills. I like the whole thing with the sod too. You figured out, oh, I can do this. To me, what I'm hearing is you're figuring out ways to make money and you're not worried about what you don't know, what you can't do. You're figuring out what can I do today to make some money, and then it puts you in a position to make a nice chunk of money. So I just wanted to applaud you for that. I think when we're reading through all the posts, talking to people, and even ourselves, I think people get so caught up and I don't have 10,000, 20,000. Well, okay, nobody usually starts with that much money unless your family has a lot of money, but how can I stack small wins to get to that 10,000 one day? So I like it. I think like the storage auctions, garage sales, all of those things are a good way to start. And what blew my mind and what I learned after a while is most of those people don't make their big chunks of money off these big crazy finds. What I found out is, especially on the storage, I think Aaron did storage units too. On the storage units, where those guys make most of their money is on the dollar items that they sell. They will go to like a swap meet or things like that, or have their own garage sale, and they'll lay out 1,000 $1 items, and that's where they make a lot of their profits. So kudos to you for doing that.
I got a quick story for you. So I completely forgot about Storage Wars until you just said it. So I used to go to them before it went all big too, and you used to get a storage unit for $20 to $50. I mean, if it was 100, it was a lot. Yeah, it was super cheap. And after that freaking show came out, everybody was like 1,000, 2,000. I'm like,
oh, stupid.
Blessed mind. So there's one. Everybody knows I live outside of the University of Maryland, so I'm right down the street from the campus. So we went to one storage unit facility, and like if the auctioneer doesn't get the initial asking price, will start dropping it. So if he doesn't get 100, he'll go down to 75. They'll go down to 50. They'll go to 20. So there's a storage unit that had a bunch of candy and chips and pretzels and stuff like that, like a whole pallet of it. So it was just me and one other guy, another like a frat kid. And I was like, I'm waiting. He's like, all right, me too. So we got down to $5. And the frat kid was like $5. And as soon as he said $5, a rat ran out from underneath of the food. And the auctioneer was like, sold. And he was like, God damn. I was like, oh, small win. I mean, I don't know if it was all ruined or what, but I mean, it was fun to see and fun to do. It just got a little crazy. I know it's calmed down a lot since then, but there's still a lot of attention on those. And I come to find out, especially talking to some people in the storage unit facility world now, is that some facilities will cut the lock off beforehand and know what's inside, and then tell their friends and family, this one has a whatever, this one has a whatever, and then relock it and then auction it off afterwards. So
which is a big no-no.
Yeah, it's a huge no-no.
Yeah.
But they do it. And they'll combine units.
Yep.
That's the interesting part. Is they'll combine units, and I didn't know, but guys who were experienced, perfect example, guys who were experienced could look at it and tell that units had been combined. How they knew, I don't really know, but they would look at it and be like, "No, dude, this is multiple units combined into one." I think they could just look and say, "Well, these things all don't go together, and this is not it." But yeah, you're not supposed to ever touch anything inside or go inside. But they, like Aaron just said, they do it all the time.
Why is the left-hand side all dusty, but the right-hand side is fresh?
And yeah, there would be like, like whatever, like some modern furniture with this old oak stuff. And they're like, no, that's not the same unit because that doesn't, they just knew. And it was funny. Yeah, the original show, The Storage Wars, I live in Orange County, California. It was filmed there, and it's funny. The whole yup and all that stuff was right around. Yeah,
I hate right now. After that came out, when I went out to the storage unit facilities, guys were like, yup. I'm like, bro, stop.
Dude. But most of those guys own thrift stores. Yeah, they own thrift stores and stuff like that. And all those dollar items is where they make a lot of their money.
Yeah. So Alex lives in where he's at is in Northern Maryland, and they have a Autumn Fest. What is it called?
Color Fest.
Color Fest. It's like one of the largest craft shows in Maryland, and I think Maryland, Pennsylvania, the whole area. And they have it once a year for a couple of days. And Alex was like, "I'm going to charge for parking because there's no parking up here." So I was like, the front of his house is like over off of Main Street. So if he wanted to sell wares on his front lawn, he could easily do that. Or mini fridges or whatever,
Yeah, mini fridges.
Do you guys have that in your district at all? Like when people have like perpetual yard sales and stuff like that in their yard, or no? Or is that just a California thing?
We do.
Yeah, okay. Colorfest the first 3 days is huge garage sale. Everybody does garage sale I guess it'd be fall cleaning, not spring cleaning, but that was another thing I did during Colorfest. My girlfriend, she'd be controlling the parking, and we have almost an acre. And so we fit, I think it was like 38 cars, and we charged $20 a car. They could walk right to the Colorfest festival, but I was out garage sailing, picking up stuff from garage shells and then bringing it back and selling it in my front yard. So I was making more money. She was controlling the parking.
I love the creativity of it. That's the hustle. Like if you don't have the money, then you have to figure out ways to make money. And this is what you do. You think outside the box.
Yeah, and I think for anybody who like really wants to get into real estate and they're stuck, like real estate's the end goal. And like, I'm starting to realize like rentals is like a defensive position and the flips is like an offensive position. But if you're trying to get into real estate at all, like try to figure out a way to make money without your W-2. And just like your brain, like if you have to spend a little bit of money to make money, but I could get a $500 credit card and go to Goodwill, and I feel pretty confident I could walk in there and make $25. Like it might take me an hour, and it's 25 an hour. It's not great, but you did something outside of your W-2 and you're using your brain to make money, and you're just building, you're building your brain in a way to think differently. And
the guy who goes dumpster diving in New York that I talked to, he goes to Goodwill stores. So if you were ever poor like the three of us at some point, then you used to go to Goodwill at some point. And so they had the stickers on there, and the sticker color code is indicative of how long they've had it for. And I think I could be wrong. I think the yellow sticker is when it's been on the market for too long, and they just throw it in the dumpster because they can't get rid of it and sell it for what they want. So what he does is he goes there and he gets all this yellow sticker stuff and either gives it away to the community and builds community relationships, or he sells it on eBay, Facebook Marketplace, whatever his jam is. But I mean, I have people when I sell stuff on Facebook Marketplace, like I sold a dog crate yesterday for $50. It was laying around. I can get that same crate at the Goodwill store for $20. I know that because I still go to Goodwill to shop for my white elephant gifts for Christmas to give people. But yeah, like there's ways to make money. It's just, what are you willing to do, and surround yourself with people who are not going to hold you back? Because obviously dumpster diving, you have to put your ego aside to dive in a dumpster.
Yeah. And I mean, like I've never I've been embarrassed before, but it doesn't bother me really. Cause if you don't have any, if I'm making $20, like it's $20, you know what I mean?
$20.
Yeah. It's just,
Oh man.
I don't know. It's just thinking like, I don't know.
But you got into
Like
eBay too, though, right? You started flipping on eBay, right?
yeah, that was Goodwill stuff and the Pokemon cards. But I did learn on eBay. So there's when you go to list something on eBay, if you've never listed on eBay, you're gonna have zero feedback. And luckily I bought on eBay before. And I think we were talking about this other day. Like they had a random part. They had a part for like my 1987 motor on a boat. And I bought it. So luckily I had like feedback on my eBay account, so I could sell stuff. People usually don't buy with a 0% feedback, but you can look up the item that you're looking at. So uh, I'll go, for example, this was like a little while ago, but I found this Hot Wheels like display case at Goodwill, and they had it for like $1.75 or something. And I looked it up and I was like, Hot Wheels display case, and it had the year on it, 1986. And then boom, it'd pop up, and people have it for sale like all over the place. If you go on the side and you click the filter and you click sold completed items, it'll show you that this item consistently sells for $25. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to spend $1.75 and sell it for $25. And also has a liquidity number at the end. So I think it's 2 months. It used to be 3 months. So it's like, it shows you how many sold in 60 days. So if 60 of those items sold in 60 days, that means one a day is selling at $25. So, and if you were to plug in Pokemon cards on eBay right now, last time I looked, it was like almost like 500,000 in 2 months. So it's super popular and it's super quick to sell. And when I figured out how to like make a complete set that everybody wanted, and that was just mostly going to garage sales. And I had a dude fly from Wisconsin to come buy them. And this is figuratively speaking, because if the IRS is listening, it's not a real number. But like a dude figuratively probably paid $16,000 for a thing of Pokemon cards, and he flew from Wisconsin to get them.
That is crazy.
That is crazy. I don't know anything about Pokemon or Magic or those other card things, but I know they had one event outside DC where like a couple of kids got robbed for their cards. I was like, who robbed somebody for Magic cards? I didn't know that was a thing. Whatever.
Dude, there's like some cards that are like, one card will be like $5,000, and you're like, and people are paying it. It's ridiculous. And I mean, luckily, not everybody goes on eBay to sell it, and they'll just sell it at garage sales. Like, I think it's becoming more prominent that they're worth something. So people might like charge more, but if you know what you're looking for, you know, that was like making a lot more money faster, was finding those. But
one of the firefighters I work with, he's at a different station, Chris, what him and his wife used to do, he's like, if you have anything you want to sell, give it to me and I'll put it on eBay for a fee. And I was like, there's no, like, he can't be making that much money. He was clearing quite a bit of money doing it. You know, I'm not going to knock it. One thing I want to step back and say is that when Tyler was talking about his microfiber couch that he found and then sold, we had a guy on the podcast, Trevor, a buddy of mine, a while ago, who should be clearing about 7 figures now, flipping used couches. He buys them, cleans them up, turns around, sells them, got a website up and everything. He's going to start doing financing for people. So I talked to him a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to mention that on one of the podcasts, is that he has grown exponentially from like making, 5 figures, 6 figures to now 7 figures. So there's ways to make money outside the box. All right. So we're 33 minutes into this. Let's start talking about the GC and the real estate stuff. So this is kind of what we started bonding over with the GC stuff initially.
Yeah. So like I said, I continued to flip on eBay, but a couple of guys on the station that I was at, the shift before me, so the C shift people, they were both contractors, and they're both out of PA, and they're always looking for help. They're always have so many jobs, and I was just working with them so much, and I was like, I really want to get into real estate. And if I'm working on houses, like I feel like I'm being part of real estate. So I just helped them out like tremendously, like as much as I could. And I like lucky for me for them to like allow me to work for them too. I'm super thankful for them. But I just kept working for them and eventually did like enough jobs, like 2 years where I felt pretty confident where I could get my GC license. And the kind of weird that the test doesn't make you like build anything or do anything. It's mostly just laws.
And it's open book, right?
Yeah, it's open book. You do have to know where to find the answers because I forget how many questions it is. I think you have 2 hours to take the test and it's 120 questions. So it's about a minute a question. So if you don't know, at least you have to get a 70 to pass. So if you don't know at least half the information, like within 30 seconds, you're not going to pass the test. So
yeah, but if you know how to read an index, like you're ahead of the average person.
Yep, exactly. And so I mean, I got pretty good with the construction stuff. Got my GC license and I started taking on small jobs. And I think that's when I started talking to you and you had a flip coming up. And I just got my GC license. I had a kitchen job on the way. And I remember you were doing I don't know if it was a flip or 1031 in Laurel. There you go.
Well, 1 second. So for you to get the study material to take a GC test in Maryland, it's $100. To sit for the test is $63. So for $163, you can take the test. You can take the test and then you can get certified to be a general contractor. And then you can pull your own permits and do your own stuff. There's a little bit more to it, but that's the start of the process. So then I bought one of the investment properties, the Laurel one he talked about, and then he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey man, I want to come out." And I was like, "I don't know this guy. I like talking, nice guy, but I was like, I didn't know you from Adam." But then you come out and hang out, and we just kind of hit it off. So you want to go through that?
Yeah. So I didn't really want to do anything but help you, and then maybe learn and listen and get a couple tricks. And
Bondo.
the Bondo trick that comes in later. But yeah, we just kind of were talking and it just felt like we were at the firehouse hanging out and it was just doing regular things. Like if you're in a firehouse hanging out, doing work, and that's exactly how it felt. So, I mean, you're super welcoming.
But you also saw how like, it's not super technical. Like we're not building a great pyramid of Giza. Like we're just putting paint in walls and fixing holes and.
Yeah. And I think that's like with any project too, is like, if somebody thinks a project's so big, like it isn't, I mean, you've been doing this a while. And I think Tyler, you have some construction experience, don't you?
No, but I mean, like my dad's been a contractor my whole life. And I was always laughing because I always call my dad for advice. He's like, YouTube can answer any question you have about construction. I'm like, thanks, dude.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I don't know. It's just problem solving and it's not super complex. Like you can't be afraid like to take a chance on yourself. Like even if I knew that I wasn't going to get a flip or anything, like I was going to continue with the construction stuff and the handyman stuff, but
which you have.
Yeah. And I'm doing that on the side. I'm not trying to portray myself too much because I'm not trying to take so much of my time away, but people are finding a way to contact me.
Well,
so go ahead, Jai. Sorry.
I'll say, and if you're looking for experience specifically, like getting into flips and stuff like that, I'll speak to firefighters directly. Well, first responders probably for the most part, but firefighters for sure. We all have demo experience. We're always doing overhaul and salvage, right? So what I always say is if you want to learn, a flipper, especially if they're in the fire department, whatever, say, hey, can I go help you demo the property you're working on? Doesn't take a whole lot of skill. You can pick up trash. Dude, I've swept a lot of construction sites and stuff like that. It's like, just go and like you said, hang out. Most of the time it's like that we're all BSing and stuff at the station is usually I find like station projects. And for us, we have wooden ladders. So we're sanding ladders down. We're putting new coats on them. That's where a lot of like the jaw jacking goes, the cramming goes, but that's where a lot of the camaraderie is built, right? Like through work, through manual labor. I don't know. I would just say, throwing that out there. I know a local police detective who's now retired. He would just post the address of his most recent flip and say, "Hey, anybody wants to come out here and learn how to do any of this? Just meet me here at this day, and we'll go over any questions you guys have." I thought it was smart for both sides, and like that's how I learned about PEX. Was that he had replumbed the whole house with PEX, and I was like, "Oh, cool! I'm going to ask him a million questions."
PEX is so easy. Once you learn how to do it, like
it's
it's
crazy.
So easy.
Yeah.
I just had to replace the spigot in the back of my house, and I had to use copper. I had to, get the flux and get the solder out, and then get my blowtorch out and melt the solder on it I was like, PEX would have been so much easier for this thing.
Shark bite saves lives.
Shark bite. So all right, so after you came and hang out with me at the Laurel property, so anybody who's listening, who is not following along with that property, I bought it from a wholesaler. He had an open house. It was me and another guy who were virtually bidding on it. The other guy said he wanted to get a loan for it. I said, I'll do cash. I used my HELOC to buy it, which is virtually the same as cash. I bought it, flipped it. My goal was to do it for the most part by myself within a month. So Alex came over and helped me. And my buddy Joe, I hired him. He's also a contractor that I grew up with. So basically me, him, and Joe. And then I hired my buddy Eric to do the roof. And I had the whole house done and listed within a month, which was my goal. And I think I cleared 70 or 80 or something like that off of it once I sold it. And Alex could see the whole process through it. And we started becoming more buddy and talking about the stuff. So after I sold that and we talked, how did you start looking at the next deal? Like the ones you started looking into?
Yeah. So I think I was talking to you before that, but kind of like getting the numbers situated. So like if you look at a deal, like just for sake of math, if something is on market from a wholesaler for 100,000 and you sell it for 200,000, you're not going to make 100,000. Or like
100,000 plus the closing costs, and then 200,000 plus the closing costs and transfer and title. Then the 200,000 deduct your closing costs and your realtor fees. The middle number between that is your renovation costs, your holding costs, your insurance, your taxes, and everything else. So like that's your actual number. So the lower your renovation costs, the higher the profit.
Yep.
And I think I sent that to you on Facebook, is like the whole breakdown of how I look at properties, right?
Yep. And that's exactly what like I used when I found the wholesale property, which was on Investor Lift. They have properties on there, but sometimes the wholesalers are not right about the ARV. And luckily, when we saw this townhouse, the ARV was lower than it was supposed to be. And it wound up being way lower after we purchased the property, because the property sold for, it was like $15,000 more in the same neighborhood right after we bought it. So
let's go over the numbers for that, because you ran into some obstacles, because it under FHA guidelines, if it sells within 30 days for more than double of what you bought it for, you have to get 2 appraisals. Is that right, Ty?
Yeah, they have the 90-day flip rule. So within 90 days, they're going to limit what you can sell it for. And then, it's after 60 days, in between 60 and 90, 2 appraisals. Or I'm sorry, after 90, within 6 months, it's 2 appraisals, which can limit your profit sometimes. And it's scary if you don't know that. And you're like, oh, man, if you figure that out afterwards, sometimes it can not benefit you.
And it increases your holding cost too.
Correct, because then you're going to have to wait in order to do it.
All right, so Alex, let's go over that deal, because I really like how this deal was kind of figured out. Like it was just
I'm trying to pull it up right now too.
Yeah, a lot of little hurdles that you had to overcome. So you found that Investor Lift, you talked to the wholesaler, you went to see it, right?
Yep, went to see it. There was, I think people were scared of one thing that was in the house. So when I entered the house in the basement level, if you look up, there was water coming from the upstairs French door, and it wound up being that it was never flashed. So water just kept running down on the Hardy backer wood of the house and started coming into the house. And if you went upstairs, part of the subfloor was like kind of squishing in, so scaring people away. So I think they had it listed for, I can't remember if it was 150 or 145, but I offered at 135 and it was on the market for, I think, 10 days. And yeah, so we offered that. And when I did the ARV, there was one that sold 2 months ago, pretty close to it. It didn't have a garage, and I didn't think anything of that, which I guess made it more valuable, but sold for 225. So from the math that I did there, from Aaron's calculation, I was like calculating that I was going to make around like 32-ish after everything was done. And I could go over the math, how I kind of calculated that.
Yeah, let's do that if you have it.
Yeah, I'll pull up a calculator here. So
on the back, like looking at the deal, so 135,000 was the purchase price.
Yep.
And
plus closing costs. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, well, he put 41,850 down, right?
Yeah, so that was around 11%. I think it was like right at 11% that I would lose, but I had to put 30, so it's be 31% completely, but I'm getting 20% back after the house sells. So 11% on the front end that I wouldn't get back.
Down for me.
Yeah, 11. Let's see, 135.
So one thing that Alex did that I liked, which I don't normally do, is I like to do a lot of my own work, is that he partnered with a buddy of his, and his buddy had a lot of contacts for paint, flooring, a couple other things. So they hired out a bunch of that stuff. While they were hiring that, Alex was also doing work. Like he was seal coating the driveway. He was repairing the subfloor by the French doors. He was repairing the French doors. He was flashing it. Like he was sending me pictures of the flashing at the entry to be like, let's go over like the best way to flash this so the water isn't coming back to the house. He did so much drywall work. And there's just a lot of things that he could do himself while other work was getting done at the property. So like I think I posted earlier today, is that if you're sending out some of the work, it's going to cost you money, but how fast can that get done? And there's two mindsets when there's building and renovations being done. Is there's the residential and the commercial. Residential, like they're kind of penny pinchers, whereas commercials, like even if it costs more, the property gets done faster, and I can start making revenue as a commercial building. So commercial is more wasteful, residential is more penny pinching usually. And he had kind of went into that with that mindset, was I'll get it done faster, I'll get it in the market faster. Is that about right?
That's the big thing.
Yep. And my buddy who I partnered with, he owns a tree company too, all branched out in Frederick, if you guys ever need tree work. But he was a lot of help because, like Aaron said, a lot of contacts. So we subbed out the floors, the paint, and the countertops. So the painting would have taken a certain amount of time and the floors would have taken a certain amount of time. So we kind of focused on the big things. So
they knocked all the painting out, what, 5 days, I think it was, or 3 days, was it?
Yeah, it was 5 days, and they did outside and inside of, like they did the outside of the door, pillars, and his mom is actually, she has a painting company. So it wound up being pretty awesome. Yeah.
And then how'd you find
painting
your
always,
oh,
go ahead.
Good. No, go ahead. Ty.
I'll say painting always seems like, oh, this is where I can save some money. And honestly, at face value, it's not that hard, right? Dude, outsource the painting. It takes way longer than always. It's funny. I talk to guys, like everybody's trying to do their own ceilings and they're just like, I can't handle doing this anymore. And time is not your friend in most markets. So the quicker you can get in and out on a property, you're building a lot of time on the back end, which I love doing. Is I want as much time from the day I list that property to the day my hard money is due to list and sell that property. So like you said, dude, 5 days to paint inside and out. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
just get it done.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine, one of my painters, Brian, I was talking about the other day, and he's like, the average townhouse right now costs $8,500 to paint. And they make a little bit of money on the paint because when you buy in bulk, you start getting discounts from the paint. Like today, I bought some exterior paint for $38 because we get bulk discounts on the paint. Normally, it's like, I think it's $58, so I saved $20 a gallon, no big deal. But yeah, like if you can have one person doing one thing while you're doing something else, and you get multiple people working at the same time, you can just get everything knocked out so much faster. And the the second house I just finished, the money I rolled into the Laurel house, into the Durwood house, townhouse, I actually hired somebody for $300 a day to paint the baseboards because my body hurt so bad from bending over and being hunched over, and it was just worth it for me to save my sciatica for $300.
Yeah, I painted all my base in my house with flat paint, and that
Oh,
was, I know, man, I messed up. So it's the smudgiest paint, like your foot barely touches it, and there's a huge smudge. So
So,
mistakes.
Aaron, I'm curious too. Now that you've had your son, and I know you love to do stuff on your own, has that changed your mentality at all?
so like right now, so I think we talked about this before. So I put a lot of stuff on the back burner, and a lot of, like, I'm not actively looking at a lot of stuff in person. But I did hire out some. I had a leak in the house I just finished, so I had to hire out plumbing. I had to hire out some finished work for drywall. I have a turnover going on tomorrow or today. No, tomorrow. I'm doing a turnover on one of my properties up by where Alex lives at, actually. And I'm hiring a lot of stuff out so I can be home with them, and that's important to me right now. But like while I'm home, I'm trying to make my house nicer because I can't just sit on the couch and like stare at a newborn for hours on end. Like, I love my son, but like I'm looking at me, he can only see 8 inches, so he's not looking back. So he's kind of like, okay, I'll just feed him, put him to sleep. So we're chilling. So like I'm painting my house, I'm putting in some landscape stuff. I'm making my house a little bit nicer because me and my wife decided for the next 5 years, I retired 5 years from the fire department. In 5 years, I'll probably be moving, and we're not going to move from here until then because it just financially wouldn't make sense. And by the time he's going into first grade, we'll be in a different state probably. So yes and no. Like I still need to keep my hands busy, but I'm not. Being tired at home is different than being tired somewhere else. Like I work on average in the fire. I wouldn't even say I work at the new firehouse. It's just being there. But we're there for, if I get there early, for 50 hours a week, then I'm easily doing another 20 to 30 hours somewhere else. So being tired away from home is different than being tired at home. So I don't mind. Like everybody's like, oh, it gets so much easier. I'm like, bro, this is nothing. Like yeah, I'm tired, but like I'm in shorts, I'm in a t-shirt, I'm chilling. Like if I want to go play on my mini excavator, I can. If I want to go paint something, I can. Like it's not bad. So yes and no. And I'm thoroughly enjoying being a father for the most part. I got shit on earlier.
Oh man,
Sounds like work.
I mean, I'd rather be my son that's pooping than one
Yes,
of the people
dude.
that are calling me for 911.
Man.
All right, let's go over these numbers, Alex, because we're running into an hour here. So let's go over the numbers of this project.
All right.
How did you
So
find? So how did you? Let's talk about funding, finding the deal. We did finding the deal. Let's talk about funding, real estate agents, having somebody look at the back end, and then marketing. Let's talk about those things.
yeah, so I went the hard money route. When I was looking for hard money, it was kind of like a shotgun blast sent out. And the first person who actually sent me a proof of funds, I needed a proof of funds right away. And the first person who sent it to me was actually the lowest rate. So I went with them and the lowest amount of points. So the
What were
hard
your
money,
points and rates?
what's that?
What were your points and rates?
It was 2 points and 11.5% for
Okay.
interest. Yeah. So when I wound up getting the hard money, it took about 31% total just to get the property. So that's the
31% down.
Yeah, 31% down. But you're going to get 20% back, but 11% you're not getting back. So
All right, so the 11% is probably like your closing costs, whereas the other 20% is going to be your prepaids, your down payments, everything else, right?
Yep. So the 20% I was going to get back of the 135 that I knew, and 11% I didn't get back. So I calculated, I thought 225 was going to be the ARV. So I multiplied 225K by 11%. Why is this not working? All right. Multiplied by 0.11. So 247.50. So that was like on the back end that I'm not going to get. And I'll do the 135 times 11%, which is 14.
So you're running numbers a little bit differently than I would. You're doing percentages. I try to do like I do the purchase price plus closing costs plus holding plus renovation and see what that equals up to. And then I take the after repair value and I deduct the closing costs and the realtors and the transfer and title and see what that comes up to and see what my spread is and if it's worth it for me to do that kind of deal.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, when I got the house back, I saw like everything, and it was like right around 11% on the front and the back. So I did 11% on the front and 11% on the back, and then I calculated like how much my rehab was going to be, and I calculated 19. I was like 19 and a half, but went a little bit over with the granite countertops, and we spent, I think it was like right around 21,000 for the rehab.
Being $1,500 over is like nothing. It's like
I was going to say, yeah, you estimated 19.5, right? And you were at 21, which is phenomenal.
Yeah,
I mean that's like doorknobs and hinges right there. It's like, oh, I forgot those. Like I need to add those in. And I always forget those. Yeah, I always forget those.
Yep. So I calculated that. So subtract the 21,000 and the 39,600. So that's 60,600. So from 225 minus 60,600. So I was calculating and then minus the beginning part of the loan.
Firefighters can do math, everybody.
Yeah.
You're watching it live.
Right now I have 29,400, but I calculated for 19,000 on the front end. So I was calculating that I was going to make like 31 and a half.
Right. But then when you talk to the realtor, she's like, let's list it at.
Yeah. She said, let's list it at 252. So when we listed at 252, we got the appraisal and it appraised for 252. So I'm like, okay, good. We're good. And I was thinking that the FHA thing wouldn't matter because we got it for 135. Now the wholesale fee was $10,000. So that doesn't count towards the double. Like, so we're at double value. So it's 200% of 125. So I was thinking, I was like, dude, this house just appraised for 270. I was thinking, man, this house appraised for 270. There's no way. And I was like, okay, we're fine. We'll get a second appraisal. And we found out that it appraised for 252, what we originally listed it for. And she's like, no, actually, I found out that it is double what you bought it for, not including the wholesale fee. So
anybody who's listening, on paper, the house was sold for $125,000. That $10,000 went to like a line item in his Alta or his HUD1, whatever you want to call it. A line item as like a finder's fee to the wholesaler. So on paper, the house and tracking it also sold for $125,000. If it appraises for more than $250,000, then now you have to get two appraisals and wait 90 days. I think it was.
Yeah, 90 days, and they couldn't get the second appraisal until the 91st day. So, no, they couldn't get the appraisal. Yeah, I think the second appraisal until the 91st day or the first appraisal. I remember it was, they couldn't get the first appraisal after the 90th day.
So
for the FHA.
Your holding costs basically went up because you had the house done in what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
It was 35 days. So
35 days from purchase to completion, and then you had to wait a total of 61 or 91 days to close on it.
Yep. And then it appraised for what we had it for, and then we wound up into the situation that it was double the value of what we bought it for, and we had to get a second appraisal, and we were kind of worried that it appraised for less because the lesser of the two, FHA has to go for the lesser of the two. And luckily it appraised again for 252, and then we closed at 252. So, and wound
And
up,
then you, before taxes, you net how much?
it was like 61,000. So it was pretty awesome, man. Yeah.
And you've been chopping at the bit ever since.
Yeah, I'm looking for houses, and then actually after this, I'm gonna go look at another house. So, but
So what if you went from hustling on eBay, dumpster diving, flipping stuff and Pokemon cards on eBay? Like, if you could go back and give either your younger self advice, what would that be?
younger self,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't really. My younger self maybe read more and do some more research, but I think I was too naive and having fun, and I thought I had it all figured out. But I'm glad that kind of how things are going.
Where do you want to progress from here? Like, what's your next moves for real estate,
Uh,
personal life, whatever?
yeah, really. Like, I mean, I'm not going to touch any of this money. It's just going to continue to reinvest and do more flips, and then eventually do rentals. But uh, this is all for like family. Like, I have nieces and nephews, and my parents are retired. They have some land in Mississippi, and I want to build their house for them eventually too. So that was like another reason why I got my contract and thing. So and like, I know I could probably sub it out, but I think it would just mean a lot more to me if I built their house for them.
So another thing, I don't want to go off on a tangent too far, but a lot of GCs that I know is what they'll do is they'll get the contracts for work, whether it be roofs or landscape or whatever, sod, and then they'll sub that work out to somebody else, and they'll basically get like the wholesale or the middleman fee. I mean, that would be a benefit for you to get your GC, your general contractor's license, also, is to be able to bid on jobs and then find crews who can complete the jobs. But make sure your crews have insurance and they're licensed, bonded, and everything. They do quality work, because that can come back and bite you in the butt.
Yeah. So when I first got the house too, I had that kitchen job come up, and it was a pretty big job, and I wound up giving my buddy, who like I did construction stuff with, and he helped me out like just by teaching me things. And I gave him like 60% of the job because he was there a lot more than I was. So it
So
wound
you
up
found the
working.
work, you hired him, he gets most of the money.
Yep. And like, I didn't even care if I made like a little bit of money or no money, because I was focusing on this real estate thing, and then the flip house, but I was still doing that kitchen with him. So yeah, kind of, I did that very, very quickly, the sub out the work, but I was still there helping him.
Sounds like you get a lot of pokers in the fire. Like, being young, like you are, and like you just have a lot of experience, life experience now, and you have a lot of pokers in the fire to go whatever direction you want to. And it reminds me a lot of myself when I was your age. It's kind of like, I can go do this, I can go do this, I can go do this. And what Tyler was saying earlier, like, how does it feel like being a dad? Like, I feel like I have to kind of rein that in a little bit, because if I don't, then I'm going to miss out quality time with my family. So while you can, I say do it. Get as much experience as you can. Put all the energy out in the world to start doing other stuff and experience. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, that's like my thought process, is just use my body as much as I can right now, because I feel like I'll be old and beat up, and I do want to enjoy time with kids and be a good dad and everything. So
Yeah. Tyler, you got anything before we start wrapping this thing up?
No, it's been a good episode, and it's cool. Like I said, I just like the constant steps towards improvement, and like I keep thinking, like, I love hearing big numbers like that, because when you compare it to like our salary, or I always like backing stuff out for me as like, how many overtime shifts would you have had to work to make $61,000, and then be like, is this a good use of my time? When you're doing that, you're like, whoa, like that would be, for some guys, it would be over a year's worth of overtime, 2 years worth of overtime that you were able to accomplish by taking a chance on yourself. So I applaud you. I think it's pretty cool, man. Super stoked to see what you do in the future. I think it's just gonna mushroom for here, because you're going to get more confidence. You're gonna, especially with having your GC license, I think the sky's the limit.
yeah, and again, thank you guys so much. Like, I wouldn't be where I'm at without your guys' podcast, and everybody else too who contributes to the group. It's just, thank you guys so much. Like, it really does mean a lot.
Well, luckily Tyler put out a really good plea for people to hop on here. And once we figured out the times, I think we had like a dozen guys sign up to be on the podcast now. So a couple of guys texted me, he's like, man, his message really resonated with me. I was like, good. I'm just gonna have him be the spokesperson for the whole group now.
Yep. It's cool to see the progression of the group too, right? Because of that, it's like the comments and the conversations have evolved because you can tell people are in action right now. Like they've been watching for a year or so, and it's like, oh man, people are not just like, how do I get started in real estate investing? Which is fine, but it's cool to see people who, I think Aaron and I were talking offline the other day, people that have been on the site the longest and have been engaged the most, you're starting to see their conversations specifically change to action items. And I don't know, I think it's super rewarding and super awesome to see.
I agree. I also realized that I still haven't touched my office, so it looks like a disaster back here. Don't mind me.
I like your bow in the background too.
I got my crossbow. I've got a compound bow. I've got a lot of stuff.
I mean, there's a reason why this camera's pointing up, because this room's pretty dirty too. So
I gotta get a gun safe. That's another thing I gotta work on this week. All right, guys. Alex, thank you. Tyler, thank you. And if you guys want to hop on the podcast to motivate the other people who are in the same boat that a lot of us are or were in, feel free to reach out. We want to have more people on here to chat it up.
All right, everybody. We will see you soon. Please fill out the information form. And if you know somebody who you think should be on the form, put some pressure on them. We need more guests.
Sounds good. All right, guys.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. And we'll catch you next week's episode.
Thanks again for spending some time with us today. If you found value in anything you heard, please share with someone who may benefit. We look forward to connecting between shows in our Facebook group, First Responder Financial Freedom. Till next time.